Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Erasmus Expeditions. We're here with session 48 of our ongoing Arthurian-themed campaign. Started out as Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, has become Cortex Prime. Tonight's episode is titled Fare Thee Well, Fair Folk. So yeah, this is Beneath the Banner's Shadow. It's a tale of fealty, courage, and a large, heavy dose of woe. Um, this takes place in a homebrew world of mine called Rostveen, in particular in the kingdom of Vykaril, which is, again, based on Arthurian legend as well as like some English and Germanic folklore and mythology kind of rolled in. This has been a sweeping saga. We are entering, I believe, our 6th year of this campaign. And I'm excited, as always, to get back to telling this story with these characters. It's been a little while since we played. We do have some players that hopefully will be joining us this evening, but if not, then we will miss them this time around. But before we get started, I wanted to give the same warning that I give on the beginning of all of my games, and that is if foul language and mature subject matter are problems for you, then nothing on this channel at all, including this game, is going to probably be appropriate for you to watch. Many apologies, but that is just how we roll here. So, in addition, I'd also want to say thank you so very much for both of the artists that we have worked with through the years to come up with some of the beautiful artwork that you see here on the overlay. The shields, many of them were designed by an artist I worked with named Rachel Ayres. She was fantastic to work with. I highly recommend, if you can find her, to check out her stuff and hire her for your own project. In addition, Steve hired Augusto to make the PC likenesses that you will see the art of here on everybody's window. So thank you to both of you for providing our game with some kick-ass visuals. All right, we'll juggle people around in just a second. I also wanted to say that our very own Josh, who is connecting right now, also makes music. You can find the link for his stuff in the description of the video down below, but on the break, you will hear one of his pieces titled Shield Sister, and at the end of the game, you will catch another piece of his titled Swordbreaker. So be sure to stick around and give those a listen. But before we get started, I'm going to pass things over to my players so that they can introduce themselves, tell you where you may be able to find them on the internet, any kind of projects that they want to plug, and then we're going to get started. I'm going to grab Baron's window and bring him in for his close-up. So, Baron, why don't you say hello to the people?
Hey everybody, I'm Baron. I play RPGs with my friends. In the every odd day that I find myself fortunate enough to be on stream, I'm usually here. So come check us out and the cool stuff that happens in the expeditions. I had the luxury not too long ago of running a short series here on this very channel that I thought was really good. I had a lot of fun with that, and I feel like it's some of the better things that I've put on the internet. So I'm happy that it's here. This evening, I'm going to be stepping back into the boots of the incomparable Masaka Tord, the rough and tumble paladin, and do-gooder, or at least tries to, for the sake of his friends.
Yeah, man, absolutely. The A Willow Weeps was a really fun game, a fun project to have here on the channel. I'm very proud of how that turned out as well, man. So, and I had a lot of fun as a player. So, um, anytime. All right, next up we have Karen.
Hello, everyone. I'm Karen, also known as Myth and Gears. Where can you find me? Well, you can find me here tonight. I'll be here. I'll also be back Wednesday. If you're watching live, if you're watching in the VOD, it might have already happened in the past, or it could happen still in the future. I'm not sure. I'm not really a time traveler person, so I don't know how it all works. But Wednesday, fourth Wednesdays of the month, also back here on this channel. Looking forward to this. I get to play Ariana tonight, and just very excited to get back into all the woe that we get to deal with, because it's so cathartic. Pass back to you.
Again, like I love that all of you are perfectly comfortable and welcoming with the horrible, horrible things that I've done to all of your characters throughout the course of this game. That makes me very happy. Speaking of making me very happy, next up is Eli.
Hey everybody, I'm Eli, and I am playing Sir John Lightnor this evening, the knightly dude who's out to show the world that he's the very best in the world with a sword. I want to shout out tonight a game that I played yesterday called Eat the Reich. It's the new RPG from Rowan, Rook, and Deckard. And they just started fulfilling their Kickstarter stuff now. But yeah, Baron knows what I'm talking about. That game rules. I played it for, I don't know, like 2.5 hours yesterday. It was amazing. I have never had that kind of like power fantasy over the top nonsense in an RPG. Wow.
Please tell me that you play as vampires hunting Nazis.
Yeah, you are vampire super
premise?
commandos who are
Amazing.
members of the paramilitary organization FANG. It's an acronym that they never explain.
Okay.
And your goal is to destabilize the Nazi war machine by tracking Hitler down to his command Zeppelin anchored to the Eiffel Tower and sucking all of his blood.
There's a question that asks, what does Hitler taste like?
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's what you're trying to find out.
It's so cool. It's very like, it's got a very side-scrolling video gamey kind of vibe, but like the RPG equivalent of that, you like jump into these levels and you accomplish an objective and then it's over. Like, oh man, it's so much fun.
I will have to check that out.
Yeah.
It could be a Love, Death, Robots episode easily.
100%.
Yeah, I like that. I like games like that are kind of quirky and have a cool kind of pulp is probably not quite the right genre, but where it has a niche like that.
Yeah.
You know? I love games that are like that.
It knows what it's about.
Absolutely. That sounds like a lot of fun. All right. Last but certainly not least, we have Josh.
Hello, everybody. I'm Josh. If you've been watching this series, then you know that I've been playing Lord Eddard Bainton Pendrake, new Baron of Raisinfleot. It has been too long, my friends. I am happy to be back with you all. Little, a little unsure about where my character's been for the last couple of sessions, so eager to kind of carve that out here in this one here. But very good to be back with you all. In my off time, I've been making music for this show, and I believe the music is still up in the links. And you'll probably, if you stay and listen to all of it, you'll hear it during the break as well. So that's pretty much what I've been doing. But yeah, again, glad to be back with you all.
Absolutely, man. Happy to have you back. Yeah, I think Eddard has probably been hanging with Baneshiel most of this time.
Yeah, probably so.
Makes the most sense.
Doing some research.
Mm-hmm. Or something that probably demanded his attention as a baron, so he had to kind of stay back a bit. Deep reflection, yes. He sat for several weeks and stared off into the distance. Pensively. Passively. So yeah, I think, without further ado, I think we can get started. You all ready? It is said that time obeys no master. Even Faesun, who the temples say holds domain over time itself, is considered to be more of its shepherd than its master. Time moves always forward, and it has no regard for when we want it to flow faster or slower. That we may expedite or languish in the present is purely a fantasy, even in a world when magic allows us to touch the impossible. The challenge then becomes not how we bend time to our whims, but how we allow it to bend us. We find the sword of Vykaril once more deep into the heart of Elvendom, here on the continent of Rausik. North of Ginden's wall, the border that forms the edge of the Vykarilian Empire, north even of the druids who reside above the wall in the Umbrawood, beyond the fringes of the elven forests that form the endless forest. Coming back from a place called the Greywood Grove, where the venerated mother has gifted Ariana a set of ironwood gauntlets and the title of Gilded, which translates roughly into sword fists. To the group, she has given a branch from the greywood tree of Kasir, her partner, who also happens to be the father of Bain. It was Kasir who first made peace with Mathuran Gabrain, and then later severed ties with even his own son, when it was decided that the humans had forgotten their vow. After defeating Gwynfelinarine, the spirit of the wild hunt, after rescuing Bodhi from the dark grip of Sakawida's hold, that's where we find our heroes. That's where we rejoin our tale. So, on the tail end of all of this, where are you right now? What are you doing? How are you feeling in this moment?
Quick point of clarification. Are we picking up kind of like right after the previous session ended and we're still in this settlement before heading back south, or are we like back at Bainshell's place by now?
So it's kind of up to you where you want to set whatever it is that you're describing. But there is definitely time to return Bodhi to his father. And such before you head back down to where like the Umberwood Keep would be.
Oh, that's right. And Bodhi's dad is here further north.
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I'd forgotten that. Yeah.
The place where you took the elven woman who you discovered at the bottom of the trap, the sinkhole, yeah. He's back at that village.
So I think, like always, Ari is pensive and quiet, and not saying much on the journey. But this time it's less of a like moody, brooding kind of silence that she's got, but more of there's a calmness to her now. She's had the altercation, if you will, with her sister. She said what she wanted to say. She's done with that. She's put that in the past. And this new sense of purpose that she has seemed to, while it's important and she takes it seriously, it seems to lie lighter on her shoulders than the previous mission had. I imagine she has Bodhi in front of her on the horse as we're traveling back.
I think that he probably has not regained consciousness for anything longer than like a moment at a time since the incident. However, the kind of sway the dark magic had held over him seems to be dissipating. His breathing doesn't seem as hurried or as shallow. He doesn't seem as fidgety. He was almost like, in the beginning, kind of like a child having a nightmare, just kind of twitching and just could not settle. He seems a lot more settled and calm now. And you think that probably has to do with the loss of influence that the Dark Queen has probably had on him. Anybody else?
I think Tord, just kind of absent-mindedly breaking any kind of silence with probably like a burp or something grotesque, and then kind of just like, I miss Ed.
Yes, he was stuck back doing what was it? Some sort of diplomatic urgency. I can't remember. Yeah, I left all that behind on purpose.
Look how far it's got you.
All the way from the northern wastes to the southern wastes, I've been everywhere.
We should write a song, like an anthem of Vykaril, from like
That's why I'm
western beaches to the eastern mountains.
Yes,
to the
I think
southern wastelands, to the northern forests.
I'm sure Eddard could probably help you spit that up.
I miss Eddard now too. And she looks over at Tord, but at this time she just gives him that smirk and wink instead of the glare that would normally have come with a jest from her.
From the marbled kingdoms to the ancient forges, this land was made for you and me.
I don't know what to say. I'm moved.
Just appreciate.
I won't really describe how I've been moved, but I've been moved.
It's like a shove down.
No, it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Brings a tear to the eye.
Just one, though. On the cheek. All right. I know that before we get too much further, that Ariana apparently had more that she wanted to say to Talia Shial. No, Karen is now screwing up her face and shaking her head.
No, we're done with that. We said, yeah. Sorry.
Well, I'm just gonna scratch that off this list there. Never mind.
Hey, that's a checkbox.
Quest
We're
complete.
knocking them off today.
Woohoo! You get two boxes ticked after 6 years, and woo! Now you're all super duper quick. Okay. Then I think what I want to do is hop forward to bringing Bodhi back to Trayvon. At I think the village was called Elkirn, if I'm not mistaken. So I think Trayvon is probably recovered at this point. You've been gone a number of days, and I think he's probably up and about, maybe with a little bit of assistance. And when he sees you riding back in with Bodhi kind of in front of you in the saddle, he stops whatever he's doing and he rushes towards you, kind of calling, Bodhi! What's wrong? What's wrong with him?
He's had a trying time, I think, but he's okay. He will be okay. He's not hurt.
He's not awake?
No, he's recovering.
Recovering
He's been
from what? Bodhi, wake up.
Let it. It is best if he sleeps.
What
Please,
happened? I
here.
don't understand.
She'll hand him Bodhi so that she can get down off the horse.
He takes him and kind of, lowers himself down to his knees, where you can kind of cradle him a little better. Somebody fetch some water, please.
I'm trying to think of how much she would have told him, like fairy tale wise stories when he was younger. And probably not too many, but there was probably a couple of human ones that Braun would have told them as they were sitting by the fire. And I think it's at this point where she's just like, she puts a hand on Trayvon on his shoulder, and what I have to say is not going to sound very well, it'd be hard to believe, but please do try. You see, Bodhi has been under the influence of this, what can I put it in? An evil queen, an evil witch. What's the word? I think that's what I think that's what Dane is already saying. It's a evil. Anyway, the whole point of what I'm trying to say is he was under the influence. That was why he ran away. This is why he's done everything, and that is why he is now recovering, because we've broken that influence, and he needs to heal.
I thought you said there was
time. He's not physically hurt, as you can see, but that does not mean he does not have emotional and mental scars at the moment. He will need all of your love and support.
I don't understand it. A dark witch? Queen? I thought you said that magic wasn't inherently good or evil.
It is not. It is the person that wields it. And he unfortunately got charmed, if you will, by someone who had ill intent.
That's impossible. He hasn't been away from my side for a moment, aside from whenever he ran. How is that even possible?
Well, I can't tell you, but I know when he ran to them.
And did you kill this dark queen?
I don't believe that we can kill it like that, but we did sever the connections.
But she's still out there somewhere.
Yes.
So this could happen again.
Not now, not that you're aware of it. And we are hunting her. So I don't think she'll be back for Bodhi. But you still have to remain vigilant. And keep him with you, and like I said, care for him, show him love, show him all the things I could not show you.
He doesn't fight the welling of tears at his eyes. Instead, shaking his head as he holds his son, he says, "Why him in the first place? I don't understand. What did he do to deserve this? He's just a boy."
He's a boy, yes, but he's also quite powerful. The magic's in him. That made him hasty is not the word I'm looking for, but that is probably what got their attention, but also the fact that he's had such hardships in his young life, such sorrows he's seen. And I also fear because he is of my blood.
He kind of turns and looks at you. This is someone that you know.
Oh,
Someone who
no.
knows you.
Someone who is not... Someone who does not want us to succeed in what we are doing. Bodhi is not the first one of ours to have been influenced, if you will, by this creature. Though he is the youngest.
Where do we go? How do we stay beyond the reach of this witch queen?
I wish I could tell you something to comfort you, but I do not know. Her reach is everywhere. We've been to the south and the middle, and everywhere she has her talons in work in her evil. So where you go, I do not know. The road with us will be dangerous. But I will not turn you away if that's what you wish. But there is also a home here, potentially, if you wanted to stay, or come back with us and stay at Benshiel's Keep.
He contemplates for a long moment. Perhaps Overwood Keep is best. It'd be close to my home. Well, the place that I knew as home, at least. If he decides that that's where he wants to live when he's older. Or if he decides that he wishes to stay north of Ginden's Wall, then I'd be fine with that too. But I think it should be his decision. I was never given one.
Ari doesn't say anything to that particular thing, but the hand that probably would have been left his shoulder by now has returned and just kind of gives him a squeeze.
Steve is not here, but I think that anyone else in the group who was paying enough attention would probably also see Marathalin, the elf who you helped back to this village, kind of saying a sweet goodbye to Dane. You can tell that she has become very fond of him. Was happy to see him return safe from this latest kind of part of your adventure. So now that it's known throughout the village that you are headed back to Vykaril proper, she kind of says her goodbyes to him. Okay. So you leave Elkiern and you begin your travels returning southward. Let me see if I have enough of a map of this area to showcase. I show the whole map. Yeah, okay. Here we go. So you are near the edge of what is shown here on the screen, kind of where this road kind of goes off of the screen here. So you're traveling back through the Umberwood, through Gendon's Wall at some point, and will arrive near Warrenton as you kind of come back into the kingdom proper. But what I would like to know is, as you pass back through the Umberwood itself, I would like for each one of you to describe an encounter, combat or otherwise, that kind of shows that the Archdruid Waldriel's influence on these people continues to evolve.
Can we get a reminder on the way up? They were the ones who were like burning a village.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a large group of druids that occupy much of the Umberwood.
I think I would like to go closer to the end, because I think like what I want to say right now is that Sir John sees various examples of kind of hardship that people are facing, and he resolves to do something about it. But I want to hear some of those examples first.
I guess I can start. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to nail it, but I think we do see some of like the charred remnants of where this village kind of raising had unforeseen consequences, like spreading into the nearby woods. And so there's kind of like this comparison of both destroyed urban center as well as destroyed nature, and how it's all kind of reduced down to the same nature, just barren landscape, this kind of gross scar in the middle of the woods. And there's probably even like maybe a remnant to druid, nothing we were able to get close to, but like a person who's kind of like holding one of these like charred like briquette wood pieces that had fallen, or just kind of looking at a self-reflective moment. Like, what are we doing here? What is our ambition? What are we trying to do? There's probably some emptiness. I don't know if the influence of the entity we killed to the north had afflicted them at all, but if they're druids in any sense, I'm sure they're at least aware of the change in balance between here and there. So I imagine there's maybe just like an absence of people as we first enter. I'm just shooting in the dark.
I think also there's as we come to maybe another like wooded glen where you can see that the wildness is starting to overtake again. They're the animals, there's like this strange feeling to them. These like the rabbits and the mice of the fields and even the birds in the trees, they all seem more aggressive than they had been before, as if somebody has used powers to rile them up, if you will. And so when they should be timid and run, they turn aggressive and attack, which, while not painful in itself by one or two, but sometimes there's a swarm of, like, say chattering squirrels that would be on the side of the path, if you will. Yeah, big sharp.
So, oh no, you first. I insist.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I think that kind of manifests for Eddard as the closer we get to Gendon's Wall proper, and the closer we get to Warrington, it seems almost like the tree line, at Gendon's Wall, has almost grown a little further towards civilization, has it? And there are a lot of little villages on the outskirts of Warrington that have been raised in the place of, once smaller communities trying to get their legs up. But it seems like the territory is being encroached upon by these druid. So I think that's probably how that manifests for Eddard.
And I think there's a point where we see, like, we kind of get to Gendon's Wall, and we're looking out. I seem to remember the picture for that a long time ago was like stones kind of on open ground. It was like a break in the trees where this wall came through. Is that still accurate?
Okay.
I can hear the pages flipping now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Digital pages. Picture pages. Come on, paint your picture
Yeah.
pages.
So I imagine there's
yeah.
this like break in the woods at some point, and this little clearing where the wall comes through. And I think we get to the wall and we see that out beyond it, on the human side of things, there's a band of these druids who have like exceeded their mandate and are pursuing some people, innocents or whatever, human refugees, elves who are running, I don't know. But like they're in pursuit of them. And we're all kind of like lined up with our horses. And this whole time, Sir John's jaw has been getting more and more set as we've been riding through the woods, because we've seen these signs, but not really anything to confront. And I think by the time we get to this wall, he kind of looks down the line of horses next to it and he goes, "Shall this stand, or shall we seek justice?" And he like pulls his sword out and looks to see if others are going to join in.
It was a badass monologue. Eddard would pull his daggers for sure. We're doing this.
Seems we've stood opposed them from the outset of our journey. Let us ride against them once more.
Ari just gives Sir John the nod of, "I'm with you."
Yeah. And we ride off and kick their asses, just like they deserve.
Yeah. Yeah, the druids that you have seen as you kind of rode through the Umbrawood, the way that they have adorned themselves is in a darker fashion than you remember when you traveled here months and months and months ago. To the druid tribes that were further south, the ones that at first gave you safe passage until you interrupted a sacred ritual. The druids that you've come across now seem to be of a similar dark influence now, similar to what you have seen Bodhi, similar to what you have seen Dane's sister. It definitely seems to be a common theme that seems to be still present here. But as you ride further and further south, you see less and less of this influence. Eventually coming to just north of Ginden's Wall, where the Umberwood Keep is located, where Banshial calls home. Is the intention to stop here at the Umberwood Keep, rest for a bit before you cross the border into Vykaril?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I also think this is probably where Eddard would have been for the past couple of sessions.
I would have to agree. I think that makes really good sense. So, Eddard, if you would please describe to me what it is that Edward is in the middle of doing whenever he notices the group returning from the deeper wood to the north.
So I like to imagine, for some reason here, his sending magic whenever he's trying to communicate with somebody on this plane, it's almost like he sends a word off to the wind and the birds pick it up and they travel south. And as he kind of, looks up and sees, these birds carrying magic, he kind of glances off down the horizon and he sees everybody riding back into town.
Excellent. Those of you who are approaching, where did put that? I don't know. Oh, there we go. Those of you who are on the road, traveling southward, ahead of you, you see the familiar spires, especially now that some of the woods have been trimmed back. You can see much more of the actual architecture of this place. And even from when you left it, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, even from that point, it has now become a much more bustling hive of activity. People were starting to rebuild things. Refugees fleeing the plague from the south had started to congregate and settle here again. Banshial had kind of returned to the role of an actual duke, kind of overseeing matters here in the city, and life had kind of returned to this place that was the last time you were here, or actually the first time for many of you that you were here, many months ago. It was all but abandoned and overgrown. So now it seems to be a thriving city once again, though small. And you can see many of the projects are even nearing completion, and even more people have arrived here in the Umberwood Keep. As you are getting closer, you even see Eddard, who may or may not be riding out to meet you.
So I want to say this because I totally forgot about
please do.
this. The last time, it's been some time since they've been back to the keep, right? How long has it been since they traveled out?
I'm going to say it's probably been about 3 weeks.
3 weeks, almost a month.
Yeah.
So in that time, I don't know if you guys remember, but whenever we decided to help rebuild this thing, Eddard had about 25 men ride from Raisin Flail all the way to the Umberwood to help the rebuilding. And I think he also sent some people from Warrington. But yeah, I think what you guys see is probably Eddard kind of, getting everybody ready for the road now that everybody's, done. their part for getting this thing jump started off the ground. He's probably, telling everybody goodbye. And the thing that you notice is that he is shaking everyone's hand that he met from Raisinfleo, and they have all met him before. It's not like these are people that he doesn't know. It's like everybody in the barony knows him, and he knows them all well. More intricately than a lord normally would. And I think the last of the bunch is Dame Lenny Reinhold, who was one of the ones that was sent off a while back, ages ago, one of the Knights of Pendrake. And, he kind of looks at her sternly, gives her a handshake, kind of like a lord would. And she's not like a typical girly girl type person. And she kind of looks at him, and he pulls her in for a hug. before sending everybody out on the road. And then they're leaving, and Eder does the sending magic, and that's when he notices you guys riding in.
And I think one of the people that probably came from Raisinfleo was actually Sir Thomas Kane. Though you had left him in charge while you were gone, he kind of left things in charge of a more politically minded individual that kind of works for your house named Alien Boggs. This gentleman here. So Sir Thomas Kane kind of led this group of workers, masons and laborers and things like that here. And so it might even be he who it is that you're kind of shaking the hand of, at least in the beginning, as the rest of the party kind of notices you riding back into Umberwood Keep. So as you ride back, what's that?
What does Tord say when he sees Sir Thomas?
What does Tord say?
I thought I smelled a piece of shit.
Well, you must be wearing your armor backwards.
Oh, at least I put it on.
Well, some of us have actual work to do. He kind of claps you on the shoulder.
Didn't realize pushing pencils was your style.
My lord commands, and I serve. What can I say? What have you been doing? You look like you've had the shit beat out of you.
I have.
By him? And he kind of like jerks the thumb towards Sir John.
Always.
We let him believe that. For the confidence.
I see. In the company of elves to the north, then, huh?
You know us. Unifying the people. One isolated, distant locale at a time.
Is it true what they say, that the fairies fly around everywhere?
Not everywhere. They stick to their designated. There's order. They have infrastructure. Not all crazy.
Kind of nods. It's.
I don't actually know if I even seen a single fairy while I was out there.
You didn't. He seems
I don't
kind of
think so.
disappointed.
I don't think I did.
No.
Just a lot of trees.
Well, nothing else to tell? Surely there's more to it than that. You were gone for 3 weeks, from what I was told.
Well, it looks like your detachment's leaving. I'd hate for you to get lost behind them. I know how bad you are at reading maps.
Oh, I see. Now I'm being dismissed by his lord's, right-hand knight.
Dismissed? Never. And shit, at this point, you do more for him than I do.
There's only one of us that rides with him.
There's kind of like a distance in Tord's face as he kind of looks across the courtyard. I'm sure Eddard's there.
Don't worry, Sir Thomas. Once the infrastructure is rebuilt and raised in Flayette, you can join us on the road.
Oh, splendid. I am tired of wielding a pen. Not that I mind, my lord, he says as he kind of like gives a mock bow to Eddard.
Careful. Seems your tunic does.
Kind of like pokes him in the belly.
He kind of like nods as if, you got me there. So, he kind of claps his hands to cups then.
Aye.
The first one's
I
on me.
mentioned. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I think that so you said we were heading towards Vykaril proper. I think eventually we'll catch up with them in Raisin Flail because it's not so far. But before I interrupted you.
Oh no, they're just headed to drink. So anybody that wants to join them.
Me too.
I imagine so. Long hard day of working in the field, reuniting of companions. That sounds like a drink-worthy event. So you can head to the estate of Baneshial himself if you'd like, because you definitely know that you are more than welcome. He will host you for the evening meal. But I imagine at the very least that Baneshial would seek out Ariana if she does not seek him out first.
Yeah, I think this entire time as we've been riding in, Ari's been kind of giving everybody like, greetings, but it's almost like she's been distracted, so she haven't had her attention because she has been scanning the crowd, everybody, everywhere, looking for, to see if she'd see Baneshial.
I think at first you don't see him, but after word has kind of spread through the keep of your arrival, at some point you see him kind of step out onto kind of one of the parapets of the keep itself, and kind of see him hold his hand kind of above his brow, and then he rushes back inside. And a few moments later, you see him walking out of the first floor door of the keep, kind of down the stairs and across the courtyard towards the group of you. And he heads straight for you, Ariana.
Yeah, and I think Ari's, sorry, she sees him, right? And so she's going to start walking towards him. She probably left like mid-sentence to talking to somebody else. And that just ended, and she just starts walking away towards where Baneshial is coming, forgetting that she was actually having a conversation with somebody.
And he continues like walking straight towards you and stops just a few feet in front of you, his hands kind of clasped almost nervously in front of himself, and he says, "You've returned safely. I'm so pleased to see you. How did I'm sorry, please."
She would take the last two steps, I think, towards him and reach out to grab his clasped hands.
Tell me everything.
That would be a long story, maybe a little bit better later. But for now, I'm here. I'm glad to be back.
Yes, of course. You must be so tired, all of you. Please, come inside. We will have a feast for the evening meal. I will bring open bottles of wine. You can all have a bath. I'm so happy to see you returned.
I think it is. She just kind of looks up to him, and just stares into his eyes as he's kind of rapidly saying all these words, and she just smiles. path would be lovely. Get all this road dirt off of me. Please. Show me the way.
But of course. Please, all of you, come with me. And he will turn and kind of head back towards the estate itself. Evening meal comes, and I think that there is probably something like pheasant, that is served and is dressed with a large helping of, like candied fruits and breads and things, vegetables and roots that have all been kind of cooked together and seasoned. You probably don't find a lot of cheese. I don't think a lot of the elves keep livestock typically. So it's not the kind of thing you would normally find in their diet. The pheasant is probably a little bit of a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a consolation prize, kind of an offering for those of you who are not, used to an elven diet. There's good wine to be had, good mead if you want it. Ale might be a little harder to get, but he would be willing to track it down for you, if that is what you desired. But what do we see happening during the course of this dinner? What is the conversation like around this table?
I think Sir John actually is not at what, maybe he is. Sir John basically got cleaned up as fast as he could, and then he wanted to track down Baneshell's commanders to talk about what they found in the forest to the north and what they're headed to in the south, and kind of like prepare the commanders for that part of rehabilitating this fortress. And so if they would be at this head table, then Sir John would too, but if they're not, then he's probably up away from the table talking with them some more somewhere.
I imagine maybe even like the war room might even be a room off of this feast hall. And so like maybe the door between these two rooms is open.
Yeah.
And like, the group of you might even have, cup in hand kind of thing. Maybe a plate or two kind of on the edge of this table where there's a map that is kind of laid out, and these strategists and leaders are kind of gathered around this table talking.
I'm picturing like there was a strategy meeting before the meal, and then the doors
Right.
opened and everybody went into the meal and got their food, but then we kept talking about it so animatedly that like Baneshell or somebody was like, guys, go back in there.
Yeah. Somebody was like, needed to show someone something specific on the map.
Yeah.
And instead of just talking about it and describing it, they're like, no, come look at this thing.
Yeah. So everybody grabs their cup. One guy grabs a couple of bottles, and we all like go back in there talking some more.
I think Edward would probably be there with y'all as well.
Cool.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
good
so
sense.
Sir John's kind of laying out in vague detail, I guess, the nature of this witch, not her connection to us or whatever. He feels like that's a strategic thing to keep secret. And he's basically saying she possesses spirits and people with her evil power and turns them against the land itself, the people who live on it, anything you can imagine. Just north of the wall, we saw an entire grove of funeral trees desecrated by the some creature from beyond, an incredible hunter from our legends down south, and you wouldn't believe it. But and then he starts going into kind of the nature of the thing as he's understood it from a tactical perspective and how to like prepare for it and respond to it and whatever.
So the walls that we've been building may not be enough. We may have to look into other means of protection.
The walls are not for nothing, but this witch invades the soul in the same way that an army might invade a courtyard. You must guard yourselves against that. Hold together. Be aware of everyone and what they're up to. Stand strong together, and you will be as well as you can be.
Well,
It would be well to recruit any watchmen who have an affinity for arcane magic, just as a secondary line of defense.
Yes, and on the subject, I've told you about the things we're facing to the north. We march ourselves, the sword of Vykaril, to the south in order to fulfill our quest and cleanse this land of the corruption that's faced it for too long. I suspect there shall be a battle, unlike any alive today have seen so far. And when that time comes, my hope is that the sword can call upon the forces of Baneshell here in the north to come to our aid. But in order to do that, we need you to have a force.
This elf that you had met with before, Sir John, named Hattadon, he kind of nods along with you. As far as I am concerned, if the Lord commands it, I would be happy to be there. I see no reason he would not, as long as the problem with the druids does not grow darker.
I will pray to Hieronymus for it. What composition do you think your force might be? I assume not heavy infantry or cavalry.
Most of us are mainly archers. A few of us wield pikes, spears decently well, are used to heavier armor, but there's not many of us. Those that you helped to train before you left have continued to train as best they can, and I think that there's a good blending of styles, if you will, that has developed.
Excellent. Excellent. I'll factor all that into my plans. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I think over the dinner, you'd find Ari sitting beside Banchiel, and in the moments when they're not talking to other people, she would fill him in on the long story that she talked about before. Maybe kind of just touching on certain places, not going into too much detail in this public forum, but giving him enough so that he knows the story and some of the things that have happened, as well as that her affiliation with the Seldan Shieldhouses is officially over. Not that she has lost her heart there, but that duty is done, and she has taken up another.
And how does that sit with you?
You know, I thought I'd be lost and sad, but I'm finding a great weight has lifted off of my shoulders. I'm finding myself finally content, I think, for the first time in decades, actually. And I think with that, she kind of reaches out and places her hand over his and gives it a little squeeze.
Oh, he says, kind of pleasantly surprised. That is good to hear. I know that you cannot stay long in the Umberwood. I know that your duties call you back south. Do you know, perhaps, how much longer you must fulfill this servitude to the crown?
I do not know. I know from what we've heard that it'll take us far. We must travel south and then to the west. From there, I do not know.
This quest that you're on, it had a prophecy to it, no?
It did. As far
And
as we know, the next place is to seek out the dwarves.
the dwarves.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's been more than a century since I've been to that part of the country.
I've never been.
You've never seen the halls of the dwarves?
No.
They're quite something. Most of the stonework that you see here was designed by them, but with a flair for the elvish style, or at least their interpretations of it. But their homes, they're quite different. Magnificent, though. Not a tree in sight, mind you, but massive stone columns that extend far taller than even our tallest tower here in Umbrewood Keep.
And you've been?
I have. Though, as I said, it's been a long time.
What took you there?
Well, when I served as a Knight of the Round Table early in the foundation of Vykaril in its present condition, we had some trouble that was brewing with an old dragon. We never did manage to find the beast. Went into hiding. But it caused no small amount of damage before we managed to chase it back to its den.
Oh dear. Whereabouts would this den be, if you don't mind me asking?
So, the dwarves, their greatest city is called Trallic. And it was to the northeast of Trallic, quite some ways. Perhaps maybe a week's journey by foot in the mountains.
And that's where you chased it back to?
Yes, as I said, we never fully found the beast, but we tracked it back to this cave entrance, and we searched for days, and to no avail. But signs of the beast were everywhere. You know, there are some who say that dragons can hide their shape. They change form with magic.
Can they change their form to be humanoid?
Yes, many of them do. Walk amongst us. Sometimes for sport, sometimes for genuine enjoyment. I'm not sure, to tell you the truth, what motivates them to do so, but I have heard stories.
I think I might have met one.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know for sure, but there's this woman we met a couple times now, at least. There was something to her, and I think we might have met one.
Well, I cannot say that surprises me. Your particular group seems to gather singularities.
That's a polite
Uniques.
way of putting it.
Well, it seems to serve you well. And wherever it is that your incredibly dangerous journey carries you, you can see that he's saying that like with a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of concern. Wherever it is that this exceedingly dangerous quest leads you, I hope that that road eventually leads back here.
As do I.
Well, tonight, then, we shall celebrate the present, the time that you are here. All of you. You have done a tremendous favor to our people, the elves of the Endless Forest, and somehow have managed to repair the torn relationship between elves and Vykarilians. I have not dreamed that such a thing was possible without the presence of my good friend Mathuran Gabrain. But in each of you, I see aspects of the man that I once knew. And, dare I say, just as Umbra Keep has been built, rebuilt stone by stone, my hope has been relayed, brick by brick. I believe that Vykaril will survive the current storm it finds itself in because she can still count people like yourselves amongst her number. So to you, he raises his glass, the sword of Vykaril. And he takes the toast.
I think the greater part of that last scene has been kind of juxtaposed to like the long tables that house, long patrolmen, scouts, militia, renegade knights, people, vagabond travelers, refugees, all sorts. These tables are just packed full of all sorts of people. And it's after Baneshell says singularity that you see Tord actually, in the tables among everybody, but he's like getting up on the table and he's like, from the western beaches to the eastern mountain. And he's like getting all these people to like sing along, and it's kind of like in tandem with Baneshell acknowledging the work we're doing towards unifying. And it's kind of like culminates with, the toast to the sword of Vykaril. It's like, this land is made for you and me.
How poignantly beautiful.
Eddar's like pulling on the back of his cloak, trying to get him off the table.
You get pulled up here too, buddy.
Yeah, that's probably what happened.
Well, yeah, you'd start singing too. You got the instrument skills that I do not have. It's a duet.
Yeah, there you go. Eddar gets to flex some of his bard muscles. He doesn't get to play much anymore.
At some point, Sir John, you hear a voice that calls out to you. A familiar voice. And running up to you, you see a 12-year-old half-elven boy named Balin. Sir John! Sir John, you've returned!
Ah, Balin, thank you for welcoming me.
Yes. I polished everything that you left behind. I rolled several barrels up that hill. Well, I rolled one barrel up that hill, and I rolled like 5 or 6 barrels up that hill, and he points to a noticeably smaller hill.
Ah.
I've
You know,
been
they
practicing.
say that the incline of the hill determines actually how many times you're going to have to push it. Takes a lot longer to get it clean when it doesn't roll very much down a shallow hill.
Oh. Oh. I've been practicing with my sword. I mean, it's a wooden sword, but I have been practicing. And he kind of clumsily like draws this wooden crude weapon that he has made, and attempts to attack a nearby like broken tree. Stands about as tall as he is, and while it's definitely not skill that you're seeing, his attempts are earnest, and you can see a rudimentary copying of the moves that you showed him. So he's trying to implement things like a high guard and things of that nature, but you can tell he saw you do it like one time.
Yeah. I think I say something like "good," and then I say, "Now the next step," and then I show him like one correction for his form on the most basic attack I taught him, because it seems like that's kind of where we are. And I'm like, and so we're still at the feast right now, right? He's kind of come up to me in the middle of that.
Yeah.
All right. And
Absolutely.
I say, so this work with your wooden sword is all well and good. What about the real one I gave you? Have you kept it safe?
Yes, yes, I have, and it's sharp, a little too
Ah,
sharp.
yes, indeed it
Um,
is. Have you tried it out?
Yes. He kind of like looks over at like one of the other knights that have kind of been helping train him. I cut Sir Catadon. It was a small cut, and he told me to apply everything I had, and I did, and well, I don't think he was ready.
Yes, you know, I spoke to Hatadon earlier this evening, and I think he's impressed with you.
He said that.
Yes.
So when you return to Vykaril, when you leave, I can go with you.
It's a large commitment, Balin. Do you know what you're in for? Traveling far from your home, perhaps never coming back to your home ever again. Learning strange customs and hard labor. Is that something you think you're ready for?
I am. He kind of like straightens up.
And how will you feel to leave your home?
Sad. Maybe a little sad, but I can come back later, and I think when I come back, I'll have things I can be proud of, stories that I can tell of the things that I've done and where I've helped, and the people that I've saved.
So John is mostly looking at Balin, but he does in this little speech like look over at Sir Dane, who I think is like nearby, probably listening to this kid because you know, trauma bonding or whatever. I think I just kind of look over at Sir Dane for that part about like stories that I can tell. And I say, yes, you would find all of that and much more on the road. Here's what I want you to think about for tonight. There are 2 paths to knighthood. One is found out there, and I point off to the south. So you would come with me, you would roll my barrel up many a hill. I would teach you exactly what a knight of Vykaril is supposed to do. Or you could stay here, where I've already set in motion a training plan according to my system. And Hatadon, who, as I said, was impressed with you, would very likely take you on as a squire of his own, and then you would be a knight not of a distant land, but of your own home. I don't want you to tell me what you want right now. Go home, clean the sword one last time, and I shall come by in the morning, and you can give me your answer then.
He seems to think about it for a long moment. And he kind of nods his head. I'll have my answer.
Good. Now, I seem to have emptied my cup, and a squire's job...
He kind of looks at you for a second, confused. Oh! Yes! Yes, of course! He kind of, like, runs halfway across the room before he, like, remembers, turns around, comes back, gets your empty cup, and then runs back to where, you know, the serving station is for the wine. He'll pour you a glass and bring it back very quickly. Go ahead, Baron.
I think probably like, half a table down, kind of just out of the periphery watching.
I thought it was a page that fetched you a beverage, not a squire.
Hush.
He like drinks some of it.
I look back at Tord and wink.
Do you really mean to take him with us?
It's his choice. It's a hard life. But if he's determined to go, we will see what I can make of him.
Well, if our plan remains the same, it will only be more dangerous than anything we faced thus far.
I know. And I'll have my hands full with something waiting for me back in Warrington as well.
You know, in that rhyme, it talks of a dragon. Dragon's fire, more specifically. I'm not sure how often that kind of thing comes up where you're from, but it's not frequent where I'm at.
And it's never mild where I'm from.
I know we've already faced the hells. But I haven't heard nearly as many stories of the hells as I have of dragons.
It is the same with me. Remember that woman we've run into, the White Witch?
I do.
What do you think of her?
There's something awful peculiar about her.
Yes.
I don't know if I could necessarily put my finger on it, but she's no usual witch. And I can say usual witch with some casual.
I believe you can. You and I, though, we're men of action. We're men of the battlefield. And dragons... I don't know what that battle will hold in store for us, but it seems to me it's more than just violence. There is cunning there, and deceit, and magic.
I can take a lot of hits from a lot of things, but I don't think I can take that one.
We may find out, my friend.
I'm pretty sure I melt.
And I'll admit, all of my training has been against things that are shaped much more like me than a dragon.
All I'm saying is maybe this is something we should start to consider, and how we're going to go about doing it.
Yes, preparation is key. I shall think on it, and I shall let you know anything that I should have come to mind.
We'll be back to more. I don't want to use the word civilized because that's not really accurate. Affluent, maybe. someplace where we can ask questions again.
Yes.
All
I'm
right.
sure Balin arrives at this point, with
Oh,
his
yeah.
Oh
glass.
yeah,
his
he's
glass.
come back. He's given me the
Absolutely.
glass. I picked it up seamlessly. I've been drinking out of it. I didn't.
He's been
really...
standing there like ever since you said the word dragon.
Yeah, dragon. Yeah.
He is glued, like going back and forth between.
I think
the
it kind
two
of ends, and it's like, you gotta be real careful, Sir John, because the dragons, they'll get ya!
And just like start
Absolutely jumps.
mock wrestling with this child.
Yeah, I think Sir John gets in on that. And like it starts off with me, like you and me, like play acting like we're ganging up on the kid, and then I sucker punch you and I pick you up, and you and I are wrestling for real, and the kid jumps on top and it's play again. Like
Yeah, there's like a moment where like he's on Tord's like face, like pulling at his eyes, and Tord's like doing everything to keep his head away from you because his hands are like swinging back at you.
yeah, it's a proper ballyhoo.
That's when Dane comes in and like gives you a real good Charlie horse.
My two dads.
Let me tell you about my two dads.
You had that in the fucking chamber.
The music lives
Fantastic.
in me today. Towards taking a level in Bard.
We love it.
I'm here to see it. Okay. All right, so was there anything else that you wanted to do here at the dinner or the night, during the night here at the Umberwood Keep before you set out for Gendon's Wall and Vykaril the next day? Karen.
I think the only thing Eddard would do is probably reach out to Reagan to see how things are going in the capital before we start to make our way, like you said, back to more familiar territory. And you don't have to give me an answer right now. You could say she mulled it over overnight.
Okay. Yep, fair enough. Okay. Then I think that's where we're going to go ahead and take our break. We're going to take a 10-minute bio, refill your drink, smoke them if you got them, kiss your spouse, etc., etc. And then we're going to come back with the second half of session 48 of Beneath the Banner's Shadow, titled Fare Thee Well, Fair Folk. Sit tight. We will be right back. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the second half of our session this evening. This is Beneath the Banner Shadow. Up here. Yeah, this is our Arthurian-themed fantasy campaign, long-running campaign. Session 48. Fare thee well, fair folk. We are on the fringe of Elvendom. Just north of a landmark known as Ginden's Wall that kind of forms the physical boundary between the start of the elven lands in the north and the human kingdom of Vykaril to the south of that wall. We have just stayed the evening as guests of Baneshial, the Duke of the Umberwood, and the next morning are making preparations to make the march southward. So what I am curious about, and we got a little bit of a taste of it just before we went on break, what is the conversation like as you travel towards Ginden's Wall? And that as you kind of head back towards the lands of the humans, what is the general atmosphere and the mood, and
before we actually
conversation
leave on the trip, how does Balin respond with these options to join me or stay home?
He wants to go with you. He wants to go out on the road.
Okay.
He seems quite eager.
Okay. Well, got a new squire.
And he is asking like 100 questions an hour.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why do you do this? What is this? What is this called? You know, why do you use that instead of this other thing? Wouldn't it be better if this? And where are we going again? Why is it called that? Just like over and over and over again, nonstop.
I think I quickly learned that, or I remember that Serdane loves to talk. And so I start fielding some of those questions over that way. Right up to Sir Tord at some point is like, oh, finally a moment's peace.
I think as you kind of deflect to him, anything that's like knightly court related or like intelligence and information related, Eddard will chime in also to kind of take some of that off you.
Yeah, for sure. And I think eventually, like, if we're doing this for days, then you start picking up some of the noble court questions, and then the next day Balin's got even more noble court questions for me, and it's like, you're a lord, you must know. I don't know. I've run away from that life since I was your age or younger. So if you have questions about that stuff, you can go talk to Lord Eddard.
So who's clocking in that day?
Yeah.
Can't imagine you running away from anything, Sir John.
I never run. I retreated.
I see. Okay.
It's a
Tactical
tactical
retreat.
decision. Don't you have a
Most
barrier you're supposed to
tactical
be rolling?
most tactical retreats involve some sort of resurgence of offense. What is your plan to get back into the courtly scene, Sir John? I'm just
Well,
curious.
we're riding south right now. So what more do you want from me?
Well, I was just curious. You know, we did hear that your family's the Shieldhouse now. I was just.
And what of it? They've got. I think shields are great. I have a shield. I have several. I've broken many of them before.
Speaking of shields, are we still carrying the House Warrington shield?
Yes, somebody in your number still has it, I would think. It may have
Yeah.
stayed with Eddard here in Umberwood Keep.
Yeah, I'll say that. I kept it. I didn't want to, inconvenience anybody out on the road. But yeah, that's that. We're gonna have to cross that bridge eventually.
Mm-hmm.
How are you carrying that shield?
After we pass through Warrington, he'll probably carry it. Nah, you know what? He's gonna carry it under his clothes the whole way.
Okay.
I don't want any questions.
Slung over your back, cloak over it,
Yeah,
so you can just kind of see the shape of it. Okay.
right.
What else? Anything else that is being discussed or hashed out on the road?
Did Eddard hear back from Reagan about the situation in the capital?
Absolutely. Yep. Okay. So in snippets of like 25 words or whatever it is, back and forth with Reagan, you get the report, the skinny, if you will, that while the northern marches surrounding Warrington seem to already kind of be on the mend, that other things back home appear to have escalated a bit. House Lightnor triumphing over House Mellowayne in the west caused the ability of the strife between houses to kind of shift kind of more towards the southern shoreline of
Yeah, I was thinking
Vykaril.
that. Who's beefing now?
Yep.
Essentially.
Apparently, upset by the striking of his family's name from the official court of Vykaril, there is a gentleman by the name of Lord Galvin Baramus, who resides on South Island, who has set what can only be described as kind of a nefarious plan into motion. He has several sons. One of his sons, Corvin Baramus, who is the Baron of East Point. Let me bring up the map real quick. Map of Vykaril South. Okay. So you see South Island down in the bottom left of the map here. Baramus, the city, is named for his family, Lord Baramus. His son, Corvin Baramus, holds East Point. You can see kind of on the eastern side of South Island there. Apparently, Corvin Baramus has landed at Davonshire. You see on the coast of the mainland here. And has seized both the port city and the keep of Davonshire. And then, without so much as raising a single sword, the Baron Andwyr Duvendel has surrendered East Buckshire to the northwest of Davonshire. He surrendered East Buckshire to Tywick Baramus, another one of Baramus's sons. So now Baramus holds South Island, Devonshire, and East Buckshire. And apparently the host that is being landed and built up there on the south, the numbers are high enough that people are starting to grow concerned.
Those two, those were duchies on the coast right there. Because I saw Oxfeld on the map also. They look like, I don't know if they were cities proper.
Let me see.
I was just wondering who were they under before they came under control of those guys.
So East Buckshire, I'm going to put them in our chat here. East Buckshire is a barony. Yes. Let's see. Baron and we're Duvendel. And then Davonshire, let me bring up my notes. Davonshire is a port city ruled by a gentleman by the name of Homeril Haywin. There's also an old Divinian outpost, so there's a lot of architecture there that is reminiscent of what we would call Greco-Roman.
Gotcha. And were these two baronies under? They were under Shieldhouses' control beforehand.
Yes. So Lord Baramus himself, is technically a shield bearer, or was,
right,
until his status was revoked. His family was kind of denounced. So the way that it typically works is, or at least for the humans who are named Shieldhouses, at the age of 50, they have to pass possession of the shield to someone else, to an heir. Lord Baramus recently celebrated his 60th birthday, his 60th winter, and has not passed on the shield, despite several repeated warnings. And so the decision was made to strip his name from the nobility and to reclaim his shield by force. However, before anything could kind of be put into motion, all of this has transpired.
Gotcha.
And again, it seems as though it's kind of in response to that happening, but the quickness with which he has launched this counterattack or what have you, it's premeditated. Like, there's no question in anybody's mind.
Gotcha. That answers all my questions.
Okay. So, what of that, if anything, does Eddard share?
I share everything with the crew of us. I want everybody to be aware. I'm like, I'm getting the the morning news essentially. So I want everybody to be aware of the things that are going on, especially something like you said. It was kind of like things were on the mend on the south side, and also towards folks from Shanine and all that good stuff. There's a lot of good news, and then all of a sudden now, there's kind of this uprising going on. So yeah, I relay that all to everybody. And I don't know if I got from you before. Were those East Buckshire and Davonshire, were they under somebody else's shield house before he came across?
Oh, right. Let me see.
I think that was probably Lathoburn land, right?
No, because the Lathobrins hold more to the west. Let's see.
Oh, right. I must have been confused with Eli's folks.
Also to the west.
We're in Oxfeld.
Oh, okay.
But still a little north and west of this area.
Okay, so
that's crazy. That's like that whole section we just have not even been there.
Nope.
Oh my god.
So Haywin House Haywin is a shield-bearing household.
Okay.
He is a Duke of Davonshire, so that is a duchy. And I think East. What was it called?
Buckshire.
East Buckshire. Who did I say was the head of that? Duvendale. House Duvendale is a barony. They swear fealty to House Baramus, so it's not overly surprised. Oh no, wait. Haha, that's what happens when you read notes, folks. He's apparently swearing fealty to House Baramus, even though his barony lies within the duchy of House Durholt.
Those people we've met before, I think.
House Durholt,
a little bit further north,
is the Duke of Buckshire, which is a little bit further northwest, I believe. Oh no, okay, that's what it is. God, who made this shit? Crazy. So yeah, West Buckshire and East Buckshire are both kind of considered part of the same duchy, but he rules out of West Buckshire.
Gotcha.
So, and then Oxfeld is further northwest of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Gotcha.
House Lightnor and all of that business was north of Oxfeld.
In Kirkwall.
Yeah. Which
Gotcha.
I think Kirkwall is on the map. Not this version, but I think it's on. Oh no, it's not. Yeah, it's kind of between Vykaril, the town, and Oxfeld.
Yeah, I think that's also where Raisin-Fleot is as well, right?
Yes, Raisin-Fleot is kind of more directly south of Vykaril.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. All right, I'm done asking Allegiance questions.
Oh, all good. Yes, Shinin is where Tor's family is at.
I think as soon as you finish talking about this plot going on down in the south, I think Sir John's like, ugh, House Baramus, what a basket of boors. Ugh. And I look around as if for sympathy, and I realize Ari sure as hell has never been in a noble court, and Tord hasn't either. And then I'm like, oh.
Not even legitimate boars, from my word.
Ugh, the worst. Have you ever spent time with them? Have you ever had to endure the torture of a feast table with them across the way from you?
Fortunately, no. I
Ugh.
lived too far north for that.
All they want to talk about is how good they are, and they're not. It's not even close. They're wretched, one and all. I did used to love, what was his name though? Corvin? I bested him in the ring many a time. What a dweeb.
You would also know that the third son, Nathdre, is also knighted. But before all of this news, the last that you had heard of Nathdre is that he has been kind of held at court, as in like where the crown actually is, to kind of keep the family under control. At least with that being the premise. So what has happened to him, you have not heard.
You can send messages to anyone, correct?
Yeah, short message. Over the plane, but that's about it.
Perhaps to the Duchess of Shinin.
And of course, what would you like to say?
Davonshire is not far from there. I fear, though it has been weeks now, to say that those lands have recouped from the onslaught of the hordes.
Okay, so Eddard sends the message along. to the Baroness, basically letting her know that things have come across the shore from the South Island, and it seems like they're reaching out more. He'll also send a message to, oh man, you just had the guy's name, but I forget. The guy who was holding things down in Raisin Flail, to kind of let him know to start gathering people in case they need to ride.
Alium. This is
Alien, there you go.
or
Yeah,
his
so
first name. Boggs.
I'll have him.
Boggs.
I'll have him, kind of notify whoever. So Sir Thomas left him in charge of the paperwork. Whoever's in charge of, rallying the troops, essentially, just to let them, be on alert. Because how far of a ride? I mean, that's a pretty far ride. We'd have to get
From
get a pretty
Raisinfield? Yeah.
Good thing we have such a far heads up, huh?
Yep.
So
Okay.
There's a teleportation circle inside Warrington.
that's true. But yeah, so he sends those 2 messages, and then, like I said, I'll give you some time to think about how they respond to them.
I think Sketha, the Duchess of Shenin, will respond something to the effect that they are aware of the gathering threat, and have already began to muster the bannermen, who have been itching for more of a fight on the tail end of kind of reclaiming their homeland, and now not having much to do other than build buildings and farm land, which most of them are keen to get back to the battlefield. So they seem ready to answer the possible threat.
Sure, as Eddard recants this to me, Mentor just laughs.
Stubborn idiots. I give them the fields on a platter and they want to go back to war.
Crazy, they already knew. I'm just finding out for myself, and the message was immediate from Reagan. I wonder how long this has been going on.
Well, we've been on the edge of the world for a long time now. It'll be nice to get back to the center.
Do we want to make a pit stop in Warrington? I'm not sure how fast of a time crunch we were on. I know we're going back to Vykaril, but it's been, like you said, probably close to 2 months now through Warrington. Yeah, like a month and a half.
Yeah, for the characters, it's probably been at least probably 6 weeks since you left Warrington. And again, the people of the area around Warrington have definitely started to rebuild and to kind of heal from the plague that swept through here. Seems though most of the dead bodies have been disposed of in some fashion or another, and people are starting to return to some normalcy of life here, though the population is obviously much smaller than it was previously.
I think really the only thing Eddard tries to do as we pass through, and I don't want to take a long time, I don't want to stay here or anything, he just kind of uses his tongue, to plant the seed that, why did this take so long? Where was the Baron at when all this is happening? Isn't it funny that all this is cleared up and you guys are working hard and he's nowhere to be found? Stuff like that. Just kind of trying to plant the seed. He left his shield here. He left you here to die, essentially. So, about to quell an uprising.
Right. There is definitely many who will echo your sentiments. A lot of people are very angry at how abandoned they were, to kind of fend for themselves. You know, complaining that their taxes are always going to this and that, but what has it done for them? and a lot of tales of sorrow too. I mean, people lost, many of them, their entire families, their children, their spouses, their parents. So it's hard. It's a hard journey to travel back south through Warrenton. It's hard in
And
a
I
different
think,
way, Go ahead.
yeah, I think Eddard also lost his parents, and I think it's been so long since he left this town. Like he's a completely different person. People wouldn't recognize him the way his hair is. He's got one eye. He's using this kind of cover to plant the seeds of a different person, essentially.
Okay. Is there anything else that any of you wants to do in Warrenton? Now, again, Warrenton is a pretty major city. It's kind of like the first major city back in Vykaril itself as you're kind of traveling southward along the road. While they are not, again, repopulated entirely, things, like as I said, they're back up and running, and things like inventory in shops, places to stay, places to do research, all of those things would be available again to you. So is there anything that you wanted to do here in the city of Warrenton kind of before you head further?
So I had written to my mom before we left and asked her to send 3 knight lieutenants up to Warrenton so that I could meet up with them when I returned.
Perfect.
And so I absolutely want to do that. If you have those characters in mind already, go for it.
I
But I
don't.
do have some names picked out. So
Perfect. I would love those.
cool. So also, before I get into that, I want to say I don't know that anybody has seen the letter that I sent to my mom, and generally it was like a message between me and her. But there was one section where I made a declaration that I want to make sure everybody is aware about. Have I talked about how I declared my mastery of combat? Okay.
You might
It
have.
sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't know if that was done in game or not.
Okay. Well, in case it
So go
hasn't
for it.
been, the message that I included to send out to every court in Vykaril, essentially, was, be it known, one and all, that Sir John of House Lightnor of Curwall, known recently as the Lethalbrun Eagle, and forevermore as the Red Eagle Knight, declares himself master of arms by champion's purse and by triumph of war. His knightly art of combat is honed against noble and skillful knights, fugitives from the king's justice, reavers upon the borders of the realm, and horrors beyond mortal ken. Any who seek to challenge the Red Eagle Knight's mastery in halberd, longsword, dagger, or grappling shall find equal measure of good sport and bitter confirmation. And so that's an open challenge to the world at this point, and we may find people come knocking.
Please tell me that you included like a bar of the talent of House Lightnor in the letter.
Yeah, I did. Well, I sent it to my mom for her to send along with her messengers and stuff. So it went with like the seal and all of that. And the what was the name of the thing?
Dear Mommy, can you please send out these letters to all these friends?
Thanks, Mom. Love you.
Send these to my enemies, please.
Yeah. Frenemies too. Let's include them this time.
Like we are swimming in a sea of adversaries, and Sir John's like, "What's a few more?
Let's have some fights on our hands.
Let's bring the tide to us."
Hornet's nest.
I ain't got time to go hunt them down. I might as well get them to come to me.
It's all part of the plan. Don't worry.
What if
Please
we all
take
get
another
together and kick his
point of
ass?
XP for that.
But yeah, so I do want to meet up with the knights that I actually recruited. And I want to start training them in the Lightnor art of knightly combat so that they can be ready to go back and train the rest of the army.
Perfect. If you did not hear me, please take an extra point of XP.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
For what you wrote to that declaration. It was amazing.
Thank you.
Okay. So, yeah. Sir John is going to be training these 3 knights that have kind of come from House Lytenor to join him. Balin will probably want to train with you, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he will for sure.
Anything else in Warrington?
I wanted to do one more thing. So not sure how much gold my character has on them, but in equal measure, Eddard will divide out all of his gold and bring it to the local businesses so that they can, start to rebuild themselves up a little better and a little faster. And I think he does these kind of donations anonymously. But everybody, kind of has that story about that, fire hair, one-eyed kid walking around donating crazy amounts of gold to their businesses. And, again, with the seeds of, somebody, just some random person walked into your town, and gave you more than this guy who's supposed to be representing the whole of the people. And I think I remember you telling me that those people, the I think Warrantons are particularly strict with the taxes. They keep a lot of money, and they're kind of flaunty and flashy in that way. So you can see it could probably strike a particular chord with the common folk.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, that's about it, though. He kind of, I'm trying to think of what they would call him. He's got this like mythical nickname. Anywho,
Bendrake.
yeah, red cloak or something.
Nice,
The
we have the red
dragon's
eagle
pen.
and
Instead of Bendrake.
The Phoenix of Warrington. That goes hard.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Because it's symbolic in the way, from the ashes. And yeah, the red hair. Oh, it's perfect. I love you. Thank you so much for that.
All right.
I think there's a scene. Tord approaches a house that would have been seen like the very end of episode 2 or beginning of episode 2, because I was propositioned by a family here whose head of house was killed in a magic accident, and it left them without anyone to provide for them. So I think like sack of gold, kind of like Eddard, he took some inspiration for Eddard and was like, I'm gonna go check in on these people. And I feel like it's almost fitting that on arrival, this house is just, decrepit, destroyed, and or abandoned. Given the plague had swept through here. It's hard to say if any time people left here or if there are bodies inside. But I think Tord hesitates at the door. And, kind of as he was walking up, he's kind of still humming his songs from the last couple of days, but they're kind of like stifled in this just oppressive, empty skeleton of a house. And I think there's just a moment where kind of Tord looks at the bag of gold. I looks at the house, and it just kind of like slumps from his hand to the cobblestones. And he kind of just bows his head.
I think as you you turn to leave, let me see. As you turn to leave, there is a woman who you recognize, kind of approaching the house, and she looks at you in surprise. She's carrying like several like a wagon behind her that has like some repair materials and tools. Sir Tord?
You know my name.
Yes, you stood for my uncle last year.
I remember.
I did not expect to see you here. You've returned to Warrington?
For a time, yes. I thought I might see how you all were. In truth, I had forgotten what you'd looked like.
Well, I suppose that's to be expected. I'm certain that you have met many people on your travels. Why would you remember me?
I think it's important to remember the people that you're trying to protect.
She kind of nods. I don't know that I was able to say thank you properly, but it was very important to my family and I that, well, what you did for us.
Tord would kind of kneel down and pick up the bag, handing it to her.
Why are you thanking me? I lost. We were run out of town.
But what you did was noble and right.
Any knight would have done it.
No others would. But you did. And I don't... You shouldn't leave your money.
It's not
you
mine.
owe us nothing.
It's a gift. Taxes returned by the Phoenix, or whatever the people say.
You know the Phoenix of Warrington.
I've met him. He's a good man.
And this is a gift from him.
It is. Use it wisely.
She kind of picks the purse up. Oh, there's so many coins here. I've never seen this much money.
Well, if you use it correctly, you will again.
She kind of looks around this decrepit building, this home, and she starts to kind of cry, and she wipes away the tears that are kind of streaming down her face. I can't thank you enough. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was going to try to rebuild this place, but now I can hire someone who knows what they're doing, and they can rebuild it correctly. Maybe even better than it was before.
Then you understand the Phoenix's dream. Do it.
To build a better Warrington, a better Vykaril.
What better opportunity do we have than right now? Look at this clean slate. So much room to do it better.
I think we even like maybe cut to like a shot of like a burned corner of this domicile where there's like a stand of flowers that are kind of like growing up out of like some of the rubble and the ash. Kind of, of course, a shaft of sunlight kind of like streaming in across them. She nods. The people of Warrington were wrong to run you off.
It matters not. I could not stay.
Well, I'm glad that you have returned, if even for just a moment. It was.
Well, it seems as
see.
those who had run me off are all gone now.
Yes. We're without leadership. Wonder who it is that's going to come and claim our barony.
I think in time you will know. It will not be bad as you think. A new Vykaril. Better.
That of Warrington. She kind of repeats and nods. I will build it back. With your help, and if you see the Red Phoenix again, please tell him thank you.
I will, but I think he knows. He's a smart guy.
Kind of smiles, and then she turns back to her work.
And Tord walks away.
Thanks, Tord. I didn't even have to convince anybody that I was awesome. I really appreciate you doing that for me there.
Sow the seeds, man.
Okay. Anything else in Warrington? Any other business?
I mean, we could teleport to Vykaril. We could be there today. If that's
That's true.
Why did we want to go to Vykaril? I can't remember.
I'm not sure.
So,
do we have necessarily a destination where we're headed to specifically?
so you're not headed to the city of Vykaril. You're headed back to the kingdom of Vykaril, but you're here now. You have arrived.
So we made it. Hooray.
Hooray!
We
In
wanna-
campaign. Yada yada yada. Scroll credits.
We did it.
We want to go east to the
We gotta
mountains.
go. Yeah, we gotta go to Trey.
Garlic.
Yeah.
Let me pull.
And
Right.
still, I mean, there are places we could teleport to that would probably cut down our trip.
Right.
Norwich,
This is
Cavalon,
true.
like
Well, I mean, Vykaril is kind of a central. I don't remember what's east of Vykaril on that main road.
Vykaril's on the coast. We don't want
Oh,
to go.
not Vykaril. Where were we?
Yeah, Vykaril's in the
Malrich.
west.
Malrich is where the tournament was.
Malrich
Tournament of
is the
Malrich.
capital. Yeah, that's where the crown's seat actually is.
yeah.
So you know that there is a teleportation circle that can take you to Malrich.
What about
have
Cavalon? Have we been to Cavalon?
I don't think you have been to Cavalon.
Where is Lady Bassweb, Duchess of?
I think that is in Cavalon. Let me
Okay.
double check that.
I wanted to say this. I'm pretty sure it was to the east, but I didn't remember specifically.
Bassweb. No.
Ravina? Bassweb?
Yep.
Ravina Bassweb. No, she is the Duchess of Lexina. Or Lexina. Which is actually to the the west of Warrington. That's actually where she is.
Oh. Yeah, let's not go that way.
Hold on, let me see. The Duchess of Cavalon and the Duke of Cavalon are the Wainwrights.
Ooh, we have some relation with them. Don't we?
think so.
Was it
Sounds
me?
familiar-ish.
Someone
there
flirted
like
with me.
an aunt or
Right,
somebody?
Felgrotha. Lady Marshal Felgrotha Wainwright.
Yep,
Oh.
that's the one.
How did we meet her? That was way back in chapter 22. She complimented Sir Tord's performance in the tournament.
Yeah. She
Look
said
at
that
that.
if I needed anything,
Left
to
a
give her a
warning.
call.
Yeah.
Well, we need something. You should
Yeah.
give her a
What's
call.
up, baby?
is towards peaking.
Man,
Maybe
sure
a
the
little
good thing
bit.
I've written 75 pages about this game.
Yeah, dude. Between that and Control F.
Oh
Yep.
man, saves the day.
Incredible.
Well, shit.
Yeah, maybe Dane is gonna have to travel to go see his family at some point. There's another scene. You mentioned wanting to go back to have a flashback scene for Dane with the elven woman. We also need to have a Dane scene coming back south of Gendon's Wall about what the separation of Dane and Camagel is going to look like. So, yeah, some big moments to touch on.
It's a zit that goes out of his face.
So gross. Just right in the middle of the forehead.
Yeah.
Right before school pictures.
Not before night pictures. They're gonna paint my portrait today.
Dang it.
Well, we could teleport to Malrich and cut out a couple days worth of travel.
It is definitely true.
And she said she's down for favors. She'll pay for the teleporter. It'll be fine.
We gotta pay for it? Did we pay for it last time? I thought you just used it.
Last time you kind of showed up unannounced on the receiving end in Oxfeld, after having kind of rigged the teleportation circle with Dane's rudimentary understanding and Regan's notes, essentially. So you kind of made like a prank collect call.
We fucking hotwired the teleportation circle.
Yeah, basically. And like showed up in the middle of like their normal traffic, if you will. And they were like, okay. Luckily you had Sir John with you at that point, because he had a name to swing around, so
yeah.
We're the sword of fucking Vykaril.
You are now. So yeah, you could travel to Malrich, because I would imagine that they definitely have it's like the way that it works, from my understanding, is like you have to have the sequence of runes on the receiving end, almost like Stargate. You have to know like the sequence of things to program the teleportation circle to send you to. So I would imagine that Malrich has that readily available somewhere. I would imagine that there is a teleportation circle in Cavalon, but in order to find somebody who has that information, we might have to get a die roll. If you wanted to do that. Muted.
I'm willing to try.
Alright, so tell me how you're going to go about doing that, and we'll build a dice pool out of it.
So would I be like trying to get this information out of people here in Warrenton? Or
probably, yeah. You'd have to like, it would be the kind of thing that I would imagine there might be like books.
It's not like a
scrolls.
Rolodex.
Right.
The sigil Rolodex.
Exactly. The phone book.
Yeah.
I would imagine that there is something akin to that, but it's probably not that well organized, especially with all the disarray that's kind of happened recently.
Right. Well, how am I going to do this? What kind of pool am I putting together for this? What is a hitch again?
When you roll your dice pool, any ones that you get they're possible hitches that I can choose to activate. If I activate them, you get a plot point, and I impose something negative.
Okay. I'm going to use Road Weary Knight of the Land as my distinction, because maybe I've walked through Cavalon and have seen some sort of sigil identification.
Okay,
Use my tradition value and reforging my country. My roll. Use Sage because that's the only thing really applicable. And my assets do not apply.
Okay.
Would my relationship with Lady Wainwright come into play?
Do you have an established relationship with her?
I do.
Then yes, absolutely.
All right.
You got them digits.
I did. I got her phone number.
Yep.
I think she has a husband.
It's written on a cocktail napkin.
That's fine. All right, and then I choose the largest number, or a number. I have to tell you about any ones, and then I have to choose a die type for the effect.
Yes, so any ones, we'll cover that
Got
first.
it. I got a 1.
You got 1/1. Okay. It's a possible hitch. So then you can't count the 1 towards your total or your effect die. But aside from that 1, you're going to total 2 dice together, the numbers on them showing.
Mm-hmm.
And then a third die, the die type, determines your effect die size.
All right, we're looking at a total of 11 with a die type of a D8.
Okay. So even with a hitch, I don't think I'm going to activate the hitch on this. I think that especially with an 11, that you have no problems finding reference to, the sequence that you need to travel to Cavalon. You've unlocked the fast travel waypoint.
New location discovered.
So yeah, and I don't imagine that it even really took all of that long. So maybe someone has been here kind of helping to reorganize this particular part, which could make sense.
Wasn't there some sort of librarian that Eddard was in contact with in the very beginning?
Well,
you are librarians. That's what it was.
Yeah,
my
he was
family
the
was
child
librarians.
of 2 librarians who are deceased.
Yeah, no longer with us.
Yeah. So I imagine that there's probably a new librarian. It's kind of overseeing things.
Yeah, I'd have probably donated shuffles. Yeah, I'd have probably donated to them as well.
He's like, oh, the sigil Rolodex. Yeah, it's right here.
Of course. We just happen to have that right here. So you have that information in your back pocket. I'm assuming that is the course forward. Is that what you're doing next?
I think so. I think Sir John is not planning to teleport to Cavalon with his knights. The 3 knights, by the way, they are Sir Arnulf, Sir Brynar, and Dame Cassia. I can send you those names.
Yeah, please do.
But they're all not just knights, but like lieutenants of a company of soldiers back in Kerwall. And so I've recruited them specifically so that they can kind of like learn the basics of the art and take it back and start training the soldiers. And so I taught them the basic opening, principles of Sir John's knightly art. But then I also spent some time teaching them what I know based on facing like South Island fighters in tournaments and stuff, like what their techniques are and the kind of the character of their fight, so that they can prepare specifically for that.
Absolutely. You would know that similarly to House Lytenor, House Baramus, their sigil is also a bird, though it is a crow.
On a red field, no less.
On a field of red.
Can't have that.
I feel like that's slightly antagonistic towards me somehow, too.
Perhaps. Perhaps.
I would implore Eddard to... I believe you also would have met Lady Wainwright, because she approached us as we were leaving Malrich, if I'm not mistaken.
If you met her, I also met her. I think I remember that this is right after Eddard learned of his any sort of... This is one of his first courtly encounters after finding out the truth of who he is, basically.
I think there'd be like a moment, like this is kind of like a last minute thing, where like we're about to step into the teleport, and I'm like, oh, message the Duchess and say Tord would like to cash in his one favor now, and like we're there. So, yeah, I'd like to see the lady, please.
Sure, why not? Let's do that. I send the message I'm sending.
Sending it to the Duchess herself?
Yes, Lady Wainwright.
Okay. She replies, basically just telling her that y'all are on your way.
Clear for landing.
Right.
She will inform you, or will respond, oh, that's delightful. It will be so nice to see you again. We will absolutely prepare for your arrival.
Shall we?
We crank this thing up.
It's actually got a massive rotary, so you have to like grab one of the sigils and spin it like all the way
Oh,
around the
jeez.
outside.
Did you even check to see if it had a dial tone? We don't have any service here.
There was no arcanum hum. This thing is broken.
I wonder if they have teleportation waiting.
I wonder if they have party lights. Like get on the wrong one, you end up someplace else.
Hello, teleoperator.
You dial it and you hear it. Me, nee, 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 nee.
Get off the phone.
Some sort of like bossa nova cover of the tournament at House Light or the tournament at Knowledge Plays,
Music. Okay.
Our automated list has changed.
Press 1 for English. 2 for Espanol. Okay, so you gather your belongings and yourselves, and you use the teleportation circle to take you to the city of Cavalon. You've covered a number of miles in more or less the blink of an eye. Again, traveling this way is not easy on you. It kind of turns your stomach upside down, inside out. You have kind of the feeling, the sensation of being like in a wagon that comes to a very sudden stop, but pulling and pushing at the same time. This feeling of almost being stretched. And in an instant, a bright flash of light, you find yourself in a wholly different location. Though the circle of stone that you stand upon looks almost identical to the one that you just left, even though the room around it is entirely different. So I think even though it's a little early, I think I'm going to go ahead and call the session there. Actually, there were a couple of scenes that I'd kind of thought we might get to that we did not get to yet. Let me change the house shield. And I admittedly had not thought about taking the Scooby-Doo teleportation circle. So I will work on having Cavalon prepared and ready for next time.
Finally, we have you on the back foot.
We did it.
We finally did it. We can press
6 years in, and we finally.
You hear that, Sir John? We can finally press the offensive now.
Hell yeah. We've waited. Oh, how we've waited.
The Eagle strike.
So sweet, the victory. That just
Guys,
means
you know what? I'm
extra
not
roll
ready
next
for
time.
this. This has never happened before. Usually there's stuff left over.
I mean, I could start pulling shit out of my ass, but I think it would be better if we hold off. But yeah,
The joys
we covered
of
a lot of
fast
ground,
travel.
physically and emotionally, story-wise, narratively. So we're back in Vykaril now. We're well on the way to meeting with the dwarves, and possibly, dare I say it, our third bullet point on the list of items on the quest, which I think would put us like what, halfway?
Yeah.
If we hit the
I've been
third one, it would
excited
be halfway.
for dwarves for like 2 years.
I am so stoked.
It's
That'd
been
be
a
awesome.
while. I was like, man, that those you said the lyric or the song to us or the poem to us like in 2019, and I was like, oh, dwarves, dragon, that's gonna be cool.
Yeah, so now we are headed for the third one is joined at the anvil under the mountains. So yep. I have some stuff planned for the dwarves. I'm really excited to get to, especially to kind of get the chance to kind of show them in a similar amount of light as we got to see the Angorians as well as like the elves just now. So yeah, I'm excited to dig in. Okay, so I'm going to pass things back over to my players so that they can say any kind of like parting words that they would like to touch again on what they might have going on before we call it a night. We're going to start with, in reverse order, with Josh.
Hey everybody, I'm Josh again. I played Lord Eddard Bainton Pendrake again for the first time in a number of sessions. Glad to be back. Absolutely amazing, as it always is. Really excited to see where, the main quest is going, essentially, as we, seems like we went a pretty long time without checking off any bullet points, and now all of a sudden we've got 2 checked off. So and we're starting to pick up the pace real quick. Things are starting to turn pretty quickly, so very excited to see how it goes moving forward.
Yeah, man, me too. Very much kind of a conscious, concerted effort. Not because I want to see this game over, but because I want to get to the parts of the story that we have not been able to touch on yet, that I have been waiting for a very long time to handle. So yeah, and I think it's got a nice. We've had a very slow burn, and I think we're definitely kind of racing towards the climax of the story, which is I'm so stoked. Okay, speaking of so stoked, next up, Eli.
Hey everybody, this was a blast. Yeah, I don't know, we've had a lot of fun with this game for several years, and it's kind of like exciting to me that the momentum is picking up. I don't feel like it's rushed. It's just like, okay, yeah, we know what we're about and we're going for it. It's really cool. So yeah, I really appreciated playing tonight. I am just looking at all this stuff that we've written and all these names and faces that we've met, and like all these options we have to bounce them against each other in the future, and it's just terribly exciting. So I'm excited.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, while I definitely did a lot of the legwork and stuff before we started the campaign, we've had 6 years of adding and building material and expanding on that. So yeah, it's a lot. It takes OBS a long time to open this particular scene collection that I use to run this game. There's a lot of stuff in here. But it's great though, because I can go back and be like, I think I have the picture for that somewhere, and I just have to find it, track it down again. So yeah, it's incredible that we've built this this solid of a of a foundation of a world together through the last 6 years. It's very special to me. I love all of my babies, but this one is the longest running story that I've ever put together. So I'm very proud of it. Okay, speaking of very proud of, next up is Baron.
Well, I mean, in truth, in the best way possible, I'm excited for this game to end because it's just like you, I can't even begin to imagine what is going to happen. And like, we just have to get there. And it's also like, we've kind of like pursued every side quest. We've done everything else. It's like, my character's not getting experience from these side quests anymore. I guess I'll do the main quest. And yeah, like Eli said, I like this momentum. I want to get some of these things accomplished. Make this fucking sword. I had a great time. I usually do. No complaints ever. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely my pleasure, man. Always happy to have you here. All right. Last but certainly not least, we have Karen.
Yeah, I just want to kind of tag on to what Eli said there. We're starting, like, the pace story-wise seems to be building and rolling downhill. It's like the fruits of our labor are finally ripening. It's going to be so juicy when it's done. I'm loving this game. I cannot wait to, what's happening, what's going to keep happening, and what's in store for us, and can't wait for next month. And I don't have to wait very much longer because on Wednesday I get to play again in another campaign. So everybody should come back and watch that one as well. It's Evermore. It's awesome. Completely different than this one.
Right?
But amazing. Yeah.
Another one
Anyway,
of my
thank you.
babies that I love very much.
Mhm.
Those are very, very special to me. Yeah, the Kingdom of Gerdes. Same world, different kingdom. Vastly different game. The flavor of that story, while also full of a lot of woe, is also full of a lot of other things. So yeah, come back
Just
Wednesday. And check that out.
stuffed, crammed full of other things.
Stuffed to the brim, overflowing,
Overflowing.
ample. So yeah, what else? At the end of the month, I have a Mad Max Mecha Hack one-shot that is taking place here on the channel. That is called Mad Max Like Oil and Water. Very excited to be running that. And then next month, the Vampire the Masquerade game that I've been running will be back with its second session. Very excited to get back to that as well. And then in August, there will be a two-part game here on the channel that is going to be using the Expedition engine, particularly Coin and Courage. It'll be the very first game of that I have ever run. So, but it's going to be Dune themed. So I'm really excited about that. I'm all about Dune. You can just ask Eli. I'm very excited for that. I'm currently in the process of choosing players for that game. So, okay. What else? Remember, everyone, that kindness is a free action. It costs you absolutely nothing to be kind to people. And right now, the world needs as much kindness as it can get. That's how we fight back against all the bullshit that is happening. That's what we can do, is being kind. So go out and be kind to people. Thank you for everybody who has tuned in to watch this, whether you've watched live with us tonight or not live at some point in the future. It really does mean a lot to me that people come here for entertainment, that you enjoy watching us goof off for a few hours. So thank you for that. If you did enjoy what you saw here on the channel, then do the stuff that the algorithm here on YouTube likes to see. Hit the like button, do the subscribe thing, share the link around, talk about it with your friends. Come back and watch other shows that we have going on here. Yeah, reach out to me on social media. You can find my links somewhere around. Yeah, I would appreciate it. And that's how the channel keeps growing and reaching more people. Okay. Thank you, obviously, to the four of you and to Steve, even though he was not able to join us this evening. I hope that, Steve, you rest up and get better soon. We missed you. We love you. But I love all of you. Thank you so much for making this game what it is and what it has become over the last 6 years. It is very special to me, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So thank you. All right. With that, I think we're going to go ahead and close everything down. We're going to shut it down. So until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.
птица.